Well, I'm very perfect for right now.
Yes, come on. Yeah. Ivy, don't hit me. Come on. Ivy, you mustn't hit. Hey, Missy. Come on. We're going. Come on. Yeah, we are going to go outside. Where we are. Ivy, come on. Okay.
I'm David Bond. I'm 40 years old. I've just got a new job. I'm the marketing director of Nature. I'm a father. This is Ivy. She's 5 and she loves the television.
How much do you love the telly?
100 billion. I love sitting in front of it all day long.
Why?
It's so relaxing.
This is Albie. He's 3 and he loves guns.
How much could you shoot a tree?
Yeah, you could shoot a tree quite a lot, I reckon, before it fell down. Would it be good to dead a tree?
Pretty good.
This is my wife, Katie. She's busy.
Can you take Ivy to school on Tuesday?
No, I can't do that.
Is that because you're working?
Yes.
We all live together in a house with my mother, Helen. She's 80.
We didn't have computer games. We didn't have computers.
Like all parents, I want my children to be happy. As a child, I was happiest playing outdoors. When I got back from school, I'd throw down my books and go straight out to play. My children don't do that. Across the Western world, children spend less and less time outdoors. The generational shift to an indoor existence has been strongly linked to a sharp decline in children's well-being. Cases of childhood obesity, depression, and behavioral difficulties are at a record high. My children's generation is going to be the first in human history to have a lower life expectancy than their parents. And a recent UNICEF report found that things are particularly bad in the UK.
The first question was, think about when you had a really good day and tell us about it. Across the countries, across the age groups, across the social classes, the consistency was really quite extraordinary because it was all about being with my family, being outside with fun things to do. In Britain, families were inside, they were worried, and their houses were littered with loads of stuff that they didn't really want.
I can't persuade my children to go outside. Modern marketing is a mighty persuader. I want to use it to sell the ultimate free wonder product, the outdoors. I've given myself 2 months to develop and launch a nature marketing campaign to get children, including my children, outside.
Every day we'd go out, wouldn't we?
Yes, certainly when you were little. We used to go out every day.
You always used to take us out. Did you have a lot of freedom when you were small?
Yes, a great deal. We could go out at breakfast time and come back at tea time. And it was assumed that we'd be perfectly all right.
So as a child, my mother was outdoors all the time. I'm going to attach a camera to Ivy to see how things have changed. Nature is my product. I need to find out how it's selling in my family.
There you go.
Now I'll do a funny video with Kitty. Wow, 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 wow.
This is how she spends her time. 32% in school, 15% watching TV, 15% playing indoors, 12% on the computer, 10% eating, 5% in the car, 4% in the bathroom, and 4% playing outdoors. I feel like the marketing director of Coke would if he discovered his children were secretly on the Pepsi. My own family doesn't use my product. Is this a problem? I've brought Albie to see Professor Susan Greenfield, a world-renowned brain scientist.
Susan, he's definitely
very into this.
I've never seen someone of 3 years old so silent, but he's completely engrossed. Look, if I'm waving like this, if I say the word sweets, chocolate, chocolate.
Chocolate, Albie? Chocolate? That just about broke through.
I think we had a glimmer of a smile, but clearly he's not keen on pursuing the chocolate agenda.
Is it possible to say anything meaningful about what's happening in his brain?
This is an age where the brain is undergoing a huge expansion, which is why the environment is so important, because it's a very simple argument that the human brain is exquisitely evolved to adapt to the environment. That's why we occupy more ecological niches than any other species on the planet. And so it follows that if that environment is changing in a dramatic way, then you will change. I mean, I think everyone would accept the logic of that, because what we're doing here is something so different from what human beings have done in the past. Wouldn't it be an irony if this very technology that has freed us up from fear and discomfort and pain, ironically, is depriving us of all the things that we treasure and turning us into glassy-eyed zombies?
There's no hard evidence that technology is bad for children, but it definitely displaces nature from their lives. As the marketing director of Nature, new technology is my competitor. Can children escape the screens? The island of Egg in Scotland is rated as one of the happiest places to live in the UK and one of the best places to bring up children.
They live on that sort of blob in the middle of the sea in a population of 90. I don't think there's a single billboard on Egg. I'm going to be looking for them, but I don't think there is. They don't watch very much TV. I don't think the reception's very good. What is the very, very best thing about the outside, and what's the very best thing about the inside?
Oh, inside computer.
Inside computer?
Outside camping and climbing trees and playing tag. Camping.
Camping. Yeah, camping's my favourite thing outside.
Yeah.
So when you go outside, what do your parents worry about what might happen to you when you're outside?
You slip on a rock, you fall into the water, you bang your head and you fall unconscious.
It is fun to get stuck in the sand down there.
And when you get stuck in the sand, there's a chance, am I right, that the tide could come back in?
And kill you, yeah. That's what makes it fun.
Do you need risk of death for something to be truly fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. So I've got 2 children. One of them's called Ivy, and she's about to be 5. I've got a younger child as well called Albie, and he is...
3?
Yeah. How did you know that? Weird.
So I looked at Ivy and I worked out that about a third of her life is spent on screens where she sees loads of adverts. Do adverts work on you guys?
What they do is they put catchy things on, and without meaning to, your head just recognises them and it starts remembering them, so it gets stuck in your head.
Can you give me an example of that?
Go compare, the trivia song. Go compare, go compare, go compare.
Go compare. Go compare. Go compare. Go compare. Do you think that you play outside more or less than average children?
More. Do play outside quite a lot.
You probably know more about like being outside and being able to, like, if you needed to survive outside.
Oh yeah.
Do you reckon you could?
Yeah.
For how long?
A while.
My children, I think they'd be scared in the woods. You ever been scared in a wood?
No.
We've really made an effort to bring them up in the outdoors, and yet despite all our efforts, there's still this pull towards the computer. So yeah, we're trying not to battle. We've wondered whether we should just let them use the computer as much as they want and see if eventually they kind of just self-regulate themselves. The games that they play, they're just so addictive. It's always more and more, I want to do the next bit. It's obviously something that they need to do.
I came here expecting that children would be living a pretty wild and uncluttered life. But actually, in loads of ways, their life is just so similar to my kids. All the same pressures are here, pretty much. There's computer games, there's the internet. It's easier for them to get outside, though, and as a result of that, they go outside more.
The powerful lure of games, toys and TV reaches into even the wildest parts of Britain. But at least here they're resisting it. And nature still gets a look in children's lives.
I just can't work out whether it's possible to bring any of the spirit of this place back to London.
Leaving Egg and coming back to the city, you realise how powerful marketing is. It is awesome. Should I use it? Many brands mimic nature, I suppose because we trust natural things. Could nature be a brand? Can I really market nature like this?
Can you imagine a nature ad on here? It'd be absolutely awesome if you could co-opt all these screens so that you could just put an amazing forest, and maybe you could pipe some bird song and some owl calls, and you could just mute the traffic for a second, and there was just a deep, green, calm forest. Lovely.
Nature has to compete with some pretty amazing brands. It really needs a marketing director. I'm setting up an office in my shed because, well, mainly because I've heard that every good director needs to be present on the shop floor.
Made a logo.
Simon Middleton is a worldwide brand advisor. He wrote a book called Build a Brand in 30 Days, and he's coming to my shed.
Welcome to my office. Do you want a cup of tea?
I'd love some tea, thank you.
Simon, I wanted you to come along because I need your help. I am proclaiming myself as the marketing director of nature.
Right.
Let me just show you my product.
Your
first
product,
of all.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so this is nature.
This is nature.
Wonderful.
I've got these two kids, and I'm worried they're going to grow up to be obese and have attention deficit disorder and maybe have behavioural problems because kids are getting more and more screen time.
Yeah.
And unless I can make them realise that when they're outside, there's some really exciting kind of brain-enhancing activities to be done, it's going to be too late and they're never going to get it.
Okay.
So I want to increase uptake. I want to increase sales of my product.
Okay.
And by that, I mean sales of nature is time spent in nature.
And, you know, I love the shed, but there is an incongruity between this shed, which is part of what the kids should be doing, and the sign that says marketing director, and the fact that you're sitting in a suit. Don't play by the accepted rules. Change the rules. Do something different.
Well, let me just show you my first thought of logo.
Okay.
You've gone very quiet.
Yeah. It's way too complicated to be a logo. It's an illustration rather than a logo.
What we want to do is get a fund together and actually get some money to buy some media space, and if I can get some good creatives to make some good creative around this, then maybe at some level we could compete for their attention with Disney and Nintendo and Nike and... You think it's a pie in the sky, I can tell, but...
Well, you can, but I think you will be, like, very heroically, charging the machine guns with a cavalry regiment. You don't have the resources, huge amounts of cash, huge amounts of time, huge amounts of cultural and media power. You might do it. Well, no, I don't think you're going to do that. I don't think it's achievable.
Thank you. Thanks, Simon.
Okay, so I haven't got what you need to sell a normal product. But I haven't got a normal product. Mine was first launched millions of years ago.
I believe we have some primal psychological equipment, which now has very few outlets. And I believe we seek outlets to replace the ones that we've lost. There's this extraordinary popular delusion. Between about 2,000 and 4,000 people a year believe that they see a big cat Almost all of these supposed big cats are black. Black cats are very rare in nature. They're meant to be sort of black panthers, most of them. And there is no evidence whatsoever that they exist in Britain. Now, big cats, it's easy to find evidence of them. You know, they have dens, they have scratching posts, they have places where they shit. You know, even the photographers who've gone out to find snow leopards, the most elusive big cat of all in one of the most difficult environments in the world, they still find them. And yet you can't find these big cats in Britain. There's been thousands of person-hours devoted to finding them. The Royal Marines have gone off looking for them, the police, helicopters with thermal imaging equipment, no evidence whatsoever, and yet thousands of people see them. And I think that tells us a great deal about what we're missing in our lives. And it's about our removal from nature, which has stimulated people to start seeing something that isn't there.
There are no big wild cats. We conjure them up because deep down we're desperate for wildness. I've got a product that people hallucinate about. I've got the dream product. I just need to figure out how to brand it. I've got in to see Michael Wolff. The company he founded, Wolff Olins, is one of the most influential in the history of branding. It branded the Beatles record label, and Volkswagen, and the London Olympics. Michael is the granddaddy of brands. He's the brand daddy.
Brand is a funny old word because it came from burning a mark in a cow's bum, literally burning, so that if you found a cow with the mark you burnt in its bum on somebody else's ranch, you knew it had been stolen. Then it turned into, I'm Henry Ford and I made this car. But now it's become a much more cerebral, neurological thing. And it's basically, I think, a name for a file in the mind that you make the brands that you're attracted to. Suppose you liked Levi's. You would have a Levi file in your mind, and you would put all the reasons why you find Levi attractive in that file. If you found yourself disliking them because they're made by one-year-old children in the Philippines or whatever, I'm sure they're not, but I think they're made in America. But if there was something unpleasant about it, you might forgive them because it's quite a fat file, or you might find yourself saying, and you eject that file and put in the Wrangler file or another file. But the brands belong to you, and the companies that want you to have the files in your mind don't own the brand. They generate what it is that allows you to make it. That's how it works.
Well, in my case,
yeah,
that's definitely true.
Yeah,
because I've got no claim over nature.
No,
but I do feel as though it's sort of in culture and in children's minds,
yes,
that it's been corrupted and squeezed out.
I think that's right. So much of the pie chart of time is filled with distractions created by people who want the children to start creating brands in their mind. But you want to make sure there's a segment in there which is about appreciation of the natural world in which they live. The raw material of the product that you have called nature is so astonishing and so interesting. All you have to say is look. It's as simple as that. If you can get that to happen, all of it is so miraculous and so much grander than any man-made anything, really. It should be an easy run in a way, if you get it right.
If I could put a nature file in people's minds, what would it have in it? I need to find nature's unique selling point. I found an ex-army guy called Jeffrey McMullen. Serving in Yugoslavia and the Gulf, he developed a real love for nature. And since leaving, he's teamed up with an owl called Merlin, and together they help people connect to the outdoors.
Good to see you.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's good, it's good. I'm just watching the birds respond to Merlin because I've got Merlin with me. Merlin, meet David. David Merlin. They're European eagle owls, so they're the biggest in the world.
I didn't want to tell Jeffrey, but I found Merlin quite scary.
When I'm walking along, I'm paying attention to what the birds are saying. Okay, you hear that slapping noise they make? That's an alarm. So they just told everyone we're here. I'm going to get you into peripheral vision. Some people call it wide-angle vision. Okay, keep looking straight ahead, but put your hands right in front of you like this. And then just move them slowly further and further apart and watch them as you move them apart, but keep looking straight ahead. Just wiggle your fingers and just push that vision further and further back as possible. Once you're happy that you've got peripheral vision, you can drop your arms, keep hold of that vision, walk to your sit spot in peripheral, and as you move in there, the birds won't fly off as much, and your energy changes. So they're looking at you going, I can see it's a human, but I'm not reading a human.
Cool. I'm ready.
Okay.
The plan now is for me to sit still for an hour.
That was an amazing experience. I just drew so much from this view. I was looking at one place, but I could just feel everything happening around me. I was seeing ducks squabbling in the distance, and then like layer upon layer of trees going through to the other bank. And then when wind comes, I could just see the gusts just rippling across the water. I just felt incredibly grounded in the earth. I feel physically better because I've just sat and let all of the kind of screen neck that I've got just go. I feel emotionally much calmer. There's definitely a product here. It is a wonder drug. Honestly, it's the best hour I've spent for a very long time. Right, I'm ready to flog this stuff to you now.
The first step is to find out what my target audience currently thinks about my product.
I've kind of got nature in my box here.
So what do you think of when you think of nature?
Dull, boring. I like when it's sunny, but most of the time I just like staying at home.
Like staying at home?
Yeah.
The reason I don't really go out, because I live on like Plumpton Commons and loads of people have their dogs off the leash there, and a lot of people get like mauled to death.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The reason a lot of people I know and myself like don't go to the woods and like to nature because like you don't want to mess up your clothes and what you're wearing, and like the only clothes I'm willing to get messy I wouldn't really want to wear outside like in public.
It was raining really heavy. My mum made me put on a waterproof jacket and she pushed up the hood and it's crinkly. And I look like a walking crisp packet.
See your lovely little model there. Outdoors doesn't really look like that. It looks completely different. Like, if it looked like that, I would want to go outside, but it really doesn't. I don't see nothing like that apart from when I'm watching a movie. And then you just sit there and you think, oh, why can't London be like that? And it's just not. It's completely different.
Oh no. These girls hate my product. Maybe they'll change if we go outside.
It's just like, what's there to do right now? If you're out here, like just...
That's a really good question, I don't know.
So you have to find something.
Do you know any birds? Do you know what that is up there, just flying off there?
That's not
A pigeon. It's not a pigeon.
I know crows. And then basically this is not nice.
These are good. Well, you can pull them to bits though. I'm quite stick through, but try me. This is quite a famous tree.
Sycamore tree.
Not a sycamore.
I have no idea what tree it is.
It's called a hawthorn. Okay,
I'll plant a new tree.
You can't plant a new tree with a leaf.
Yeah. DNA in the leaf. Even I know that, and I'm not even a nature person.
So indoors, they don't like the idea of nature. But outside, they find things to do. And their faces light up. They connect to this childlike sense of adventure and joy. They do like my product. But without branding around it, they don't get it or choose it. So what's putting all this negative imagery in children's nature brand files? I mean, if you look at how nature's portrayed in the media, children could be excused for thinking that it's a place that is devoid of people. just Google nature and it's just very, very boring. That is not attractive to children. That's attractive to people with dodgy hips. I need help to sort this mess out. Purpose is one of the top-ranking brand agencies. They've offered me a free consultation.
How do you do?
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much, guys.
We're going to go through the process that we typically go through with normal marketing directors, actually, to define the foundations of their brand. With regard to Mother Nature, what do we think its strengths are?
It's natural. This kind of like genuinely nourishing fix.
Nourishing, that's quite nice. Wholesome. There's something about, I really want to get that sort of sense of exploration in there as well. Diverse, discovery, ever-changing. I think that's quite good. Don't like vital. Nourishing.
No.
Too wholesome.
It's all in the vocabulary somewhere.
Yeah. Variety.
Unpredictable.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah, I like
Wild is a much better word, isn't it, than just natural. It feels much more exciting again, doesn't it? If you're selling it to young people, wild is much better than unpredictable. People will get it more, won't they? Unpredictable sounds a bit, that's quite scary. Wild sounds quite exhilarating.
We are the new next big thing, because to many, they'll just be discovering it. So there's a real opportunity there. Whereas for us, well, of course, it's been there forever in one sense. For many, it's never been there. It's never been seen as an option of enjoyment.
So it's new.
It's the new iPad.
Can you imagine marketing it as a new product?
The comeback idea.
The forgotten.
The forgotten.
Yeah.
Nature is surely the ultimate playground.
That's a nice phrase.
Is there another way that we can articulate playground that does feel a bit more
Well, it's the ultimate
free?
adventure, isn't it?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, it is an adventure, definitely.
If you're the providers of the ultimate adventure, how do you do that then? So we've got to see if it works by testing it. Well, David, very nice to meet you. What do you do for a living?
I am the marketing director of Nature.
Nature? What's that?
It's the ultimate provider of an adventure, of adventure.
Like a holiday company or something like that?
No, it's a bit different from that. It's a bit more, it's less directive than a holiday company. What we do is we provide incredible environments and locations in which people have the best times of their life.
I think you just nailed it.
I need to put the sense into children's minds that the outdoors is the best place for adventure, the best place to be for thrills. I need to present nature to children as the ultimate playground. Every tree is a climbing frame. Every shrub is a den. I need to paint a picture of nature that has children in it. And not only that, but it needs to feel fun and exciting. It needs to feel wild. There's an outfit called Monkey Do who tap into this thirst for adventure. They lure kids into the woods by rigging up temporary nets in trees. It's weird that they have to make the outdoors health and safety compliant, but it seems to keep the parents happy.
This has been like a magnet for kids in this wood today. They've all come flooding here.
They're basically programmed to seek out risk and challenge. That's like one of the most important mechanisms for children to gain new skills, right? But it's not just skills, it's confidence and competence and capability, right? And those things don't just materialise, you know, they don't just kind of magically happen as children get older. The timid children come on and they stay in the first net for a while they kind of find their sea legs, you know, because it's quite strange being up here. But over the course of a day, children who start out really physically timid and with a lot of trepidation, they're getting on there with some encouragement from their parents. By the end of the day, they're kind of dive bombing from the top nets. And I think that sort of mechanism is what's so compelling for them. The reason children are programmed to seek out risk and challenge is because they need it to learn and grow.
What is it about the outdoors that makes it such a perfect place to play? Jaak Panksepp is a world-renowned psychologist, psychobiologist, and neuroscientist. He's famous for proving that animals laugh by tickling rats.
Okay, let's run.
What do you think? 1, 2, 3.
Well, play is important because it's one of our basic tools for living that evolution gave us. And the real question is, why did evolution build this kind of playful mechanism into the brain? And we started studying that in the late 1970s and found it was very easy to study scientifically. People said, oh, play is haphazard and occurs randomly. No, you're hungry for play. All of our kids are hungry for play. They have to have a certain amount of play to become fully human. Since we're social creatures, we can't live alone, we can't survive, we can't reproduce. We have to have mechanisms to make us fully social, and play tells you the social rules, what you can do to others. In the natural world, you develop your place in society through play.
So take play out of a society.
Yeah.
What does the society begin to do? What would the symptoms be?
It's a good thought question. I think if you took the opportunity for play out of every young developing child, we would have an adult society that looks like the Lord of the Flies. Everything is kind of an unstructured mob doing stuff.
I see them inside, and it's sunny outside, next thing you know, the evening's coming, they're still on the computers, and they've missed the whole day, and I'm thinking, when I was young, as the crack of dawn come, as that door could open, I could get outside, I was out there, and I was out and about climbing trees, doing all sorts of things, and I don't see my boys doing that.
And I'm really interested in the idea that, like, the outdoors doesn't have a call, doesn't call to you.
Outside, anything could happen. Different environment outside, it's just like dangerous outside, it's like a battlefield outside there, really.
You only know what you're taught. And on the YouTube, everybody wants to be a gangster, rapping in the corner, doing some rah-rah, talking some kind of stuff. But for the kids, they're believing it. So that gives them that fear of outside as well. This one goes to he'll go to the gym and he'll do these little bits and bobs. Darnell every now and again will come out the back and probably ride his bike up and down here, and that's about it. But he's got a big, massive park down the road, which I'll show you in a bit. How many times this year you've been to the park? You can see the park there?
You can see it?
You can see the park from here, yeah.
No way. But how often do you reckon you go down to this park?
Well, I've been there once, take my little brother. I'm scared to go down to there. But I can go down there calmly.
So it's all about knowing the people?
Yeah, it's all about knowing who you know and who you don't know.
And that's the problem, the kids don't mix together and mash like you know how they would when you was young. You end up knowing the kids down there because you ride your bike. They don't get to interact to each other, so when they see each other, like, who's this? The next thing you know, it's a confrontation thing, then it's fighting and that.
I'll show you where we play. We play up in this square. There's the sign that says no board games, but we don't listen.
Who put up the sign saying no ball games?
The housing office that owns all the houses.
And they don't want you to play any ball games?
No.
Why is that?
It makes like too much noise and everybody hates it. People moan at us for playing board games, but we don't listen to that.
I'm glad to hear it. And what would happen if they caught you playing ball games?
I think we'll just get an ASBO and that's...
You get an ASBO?
Yeah. This is called the curly-whirly slope. Well, because everybody goes, oh, meet me at the curly-whirly slope and...
And that means this?
Yeah. This is the green grass where I take my dogs and I just let them do what they want.
This little bit of green here? Because it's quite a small area. There's quite a lot of dog mess in this little area, isn't there?
But East End Dimes do come and trim it and just try and grow like the patches that have not come up and yeah.
But it's not a very big space, is it?
My dog comes on here a lot, she likes it.
But this has got to be like one of the biggest bits of green that you've got.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a poo there.
Oh. So you just have to look where you're going, really.
There's another one here.
It would be nice to turn this bit of green into a play park. This used to be the greenery as well. There was quite a bit of greenery around here, and
So this was all greenery here?
this area used to be a really big area around, like, because they've put the buildings onto it, like, they've took a lot of space from us, and it's not really fair, I don't think.
the shed has done its time. Basically, the roof is falling to bits because the foxes climb on it and scrabble away at it, and then they mate on the roof of the shed. That's just too much nature.
I've had some amazing news from a group called Good for Nothing. They're a big collective of top designers and creatives and communicators. They're meeting up this weekend, and they're going to help me sell nature.
They've designed a logo for us. Wild thing. Childhood is in crisis in the UK. We sell children every product under the sun, and now our job is to sell the sun itself. What's your product? It's the best, biggest adventure playground in the world. We are the guys who, when you're walking down a concrete street and you see a little dandelion coming up through a crack, we put that there. When it snows and all the kids pile out and don't go on the iPad and just go crazy, we did that. Let's flog nature.
Finally, I've got a professional team on the job. They really know what they're doing. They're already cooking up some fantastic ideas.
I think there are different age groups to target. I think at newborn, there's a conversation to be had with the parents.
When we had our kids, we got lots of information about health and various other things. Nowhere did it say, you should take your kids outside really, really regularly.
I love the idea of intervening with parents of newborn children. These parents have just had their kid, and we talk to them about the power of getting their tiny baby out into nature. And there's this idea going around about like parties, places that you can go to have a wild party. Instead of a kids' party at McDonald's, have a wild party in your local park. There's this great idea we're calling Graffiti that leads children out into their local natural spaces with organic footprint trails.
It's that graffiti that you don't see when it first goes there, but over time it kind of just grows where you've stenciled it.
There's just tons of good ideas. There's these amazing ads being written which are directed at parents. They say, give your child the gift of imagination, go into nature. Give your child the gift of confidence, children holding worms and kissing frogs. Then there's the dad rap, a comedy rap viral video with lyrics that call on fathers to get themselves and their children out into nature.
All right, stop, Dad. Put down your smartphone and listen. Nature's calling wants your family's attention. We're keeping something from them that's important vitally when we lock them indoors daily and nightly. Chill. Up in the tree like a baboon and take a nature walk. Can I eat that mushroom?
At this stage, there's no such thing as a bad idea. There's an app called Wild Time that suggests outdoor activities based on the amount of free time you've got.
So we've got an hour. So you can walk to a park or some wild space and you put on a blindfold and you feel and you smell the wild.
In Wild Thing Army, children get a gadget with a GPS tracker that helps them to get together and conduct scientific experiments in their local environment.
This is citizen science meets kids.
There's the School Wild Thing Challenge, a nationwide competitive game for schools where children in different classes compete to do the wildest things. And then there's Rebellious by Nature, an ad campaign that plays with the rebellious vibe of nature. It uses reverse marketing psychology. Stop signs by green spaces, health and safety signs on bramble bushes, signs on trees that say, bet you a fiver you can't climb me.
It's kind of reframing how we see nature and especially how kids see nature.
We just wanted to kind of tap into that idea that everyone's become health and safety-fied. It's just nature is just going, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Here's a little challenge for you, can you do this?
So there are 10 amazing creative ideas. Adverts, posters, campaigns, virals, gadgets, games. I'm going to test all the ideas to figure out which ones work on real people.
If you're in the Wild Thing Army, you get a little gadget which you can clip on your t-shirt, and it's got a GPS on it.
I sometimes leave my house to get away from my parents. I don't then want them knowing where I am by GPS.
Do any of those stand out to you particularly?
That's quite a good one, the out and about one.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want you to imagine a giant poster. And this poster has a picture of two children who are kissing frogs. Does that a funny thing?
Yeah. I might want to go outside and try it.
And try it. Why not? So the third thing is called the dad rap. So the idea of it is that it's funny and that people send it round to each other and they're like, oh, have you seen this funny dad? He's an old dad and he's rapping about taking his kids outdoors.
People would just listen to it and laugh at it. They weren't actually taking the message.
Kissing a frog, that's just out of the
That's just not happening.
You're not going to kiss a frog?
It's
What about
unhygienic.
pick up a frog? Tell me what you think.
Graffiti.
Graffiti. Okay, brilliant.
My mum will probably choose graffiti.
Graffiti as well. I don't know, I've got a feeling your mum might quite like Party Box.
If you had a dad just there rapping about nature, I think it would kind of get on people's nerves, but you would remember it.
I would like to climb a tree, but I've never actually climbed a tree.
As a parent, you know, you often say, that's dangerous, stop climbing the tree. Or you're worried that they're going to break branches or damage the tree.
Rebellious by nature. Oh, great, I've got a slightly runaway kid. And now they're gonna run away from me and shin up the tree to where I can't even reach them. Parents thinking, you know, there's nothing that's gonna draw the parent in.
See, I like the idea of having rebellious children.
I want Ivy and Abby to think for themselves and have their own ideas and do what they want to do.
Independent.
I want them to be independent,
Not rebellious.
but not necessarily rebellious.
Children have a natural fascination to touch and to feel things. It's part of existing in the world. We need to satiate those senses. It's not the kids that don't want to put their hands in the mud or jump in the pond or pick up the worm or even eat the worm, you know? It's the adults that have said no.
Finn's been asking, can I go to the shop? He would have to cross 3 roads to get to the local shop. And at the moment, I just don't think he's got it. I don't trust him, is the truth. But playing out, Finn wants to be out in the streets all the time, so we just have the door open.
But we get a lot of the boys out playing, don't we?
yes.
There's a right little gang of probably like maybe 8, maybe 7 of the youngest. But I don't let the girls go out, because they'll be like, "Oh, can we go out too?" And I'm like, "No, it's it's past, it's late, we've had baths, it's almost bedtime. No, it's not going to happen." And there's no really good reason for that.
You hear those cases and you can't help but think about it every so often.
I think we're afraid of the outdoors, and the media reflects that fear. That's why a tiny handful of awful stories about children going missing and being abused are repeated over and over again, until we start to believe that around every corner there's a paedophile.
The worst case scenario is not a helpful scenario to spend very much time in as a parent, because you're constantly being drawn down the downside of risk. Parents tell me about how they've seen adverts for helmets that children wear, not cycle helmets, but just life helmets, helmets that will protect children against flying objects that come at them from different directions.
I think that we've kind of bought into the whole risk universe.
No, I think that's rubbish. I haven't bought into anything. Of course, they're my children. I'm going to worry about them. My mum worried about,
They read how we feel about our environment, and they know that we're really paranoid about closing the front door in case someone nicks something. We're really kind of like paranoid with them and jumpy with them around roads. We're like, no, stop!
I think I've done a really good job with Ivy. You will die. We go on the road,
Yeah, you were really freaky with her.
Freaky. And I know it was a bit freaky, but it really worked. If they run on the road, they'll get run over.
Katie's right. The roads around us are deadly. I used to play out on the road all the time.
Starting at just where you can see that car and just freewheeling down here. That's how I learnt to ride the bike. Fell off here. I used to hide in this hedgerow here. Used to be able to climb through and explore in there. You'd see me running down the road, screaming, riding my blue tiny bicycle. Or you'd see me with the go-kart that I used to pedal up and down here. All the childhood things were here. What's it like growing up around here?
I don't like it. It's nosy, like old people who always tell you off and nag. Like, get off that pavement, get off that pavement.
Everyone here complains that we're too loud or getting away the road.
They come out their door like, oh, you shouldn't be playing here and stuff. Or we'll call the police.
They want us to be somewhere else, but like not in the road, but we can't be. You can't go anywhere else because there's nothing here.
I don't think that the kids get a chance to roam in a way that you might if you came somewhere like this.
No, they don't. We certainly weren't afraid. We had a big play area, We spent quite a lot of time outside too.
Children's roaming area has shrunk massively, by 90% in the last 30 years. I used to think this was about children's tastes changing. But this isn't about children's tastes. This is about the barriers that adults have put up between children and the outdoors. We're selling off their space. We're feeding them technology. Our fear keeps children indoors. The odds of being abducted by a stranger are similar to being hit by lightning. But we're so obsessed that we've smothered ourselves in health and safety bubble wrap. We worry about cars and crime. At least these are reasonable fears. But then the fewer children we allow outside, the more likely the remaining ones are to get hurt.
I was so into the idea of rebellious by nature. Just tested badly with the parents. We need to get the selling points. It's fun, it's free, and it's really, we need the 3 Fs, and at the moment I've only got 2.
I've completed the market research. I now have a strategy to sell nature to children and parents.
The thinking behind it, I think, is more tactical. It's like kids eating worms, instill confidence. Kids dangling from trees, let them find their unique viewpoint. I mean, it's too preachy, but the idea is good. We're just saying, look, nature is awesome. It gives them the 3 Fs: fun, freedom, and frogs.
I've begun production on the first element of the campaign. I've hired a photographer and a stunt frog, and I've co-opted Ivy into being my model.
Give him a smooch on his back.
Oh, he's tickling!
Just bring him close to your face. You don't have to kiss him until monster tongue. Wow, you're so brave.
Have a Tic Tac.
You certainly can have a Tic Tac. Off you hop. This is our poster, but I need to decide what to say on it.
I'm calling a legal advisor to find out what claims I can make for nature and get away with.
Can I say, nature 1 of your 5 a day?
No, I don't think you can say that.
Nature guaranteed to make you happy in 7 days?
No, definitely not.
You're guaranteed to love nature or your money back. There is no money, so surely I can say that.
No.
Right.
I need to be careful about the claims I make. What's the scientific evidence for the benefits of nature?
There are a large number of studies from all over the world now, from Asia, from America, from Europe, from Northern Europe in particular, Scandinavia. The evidence has accumulated that people derive enormous benefits from nature, both in terms of physical health, but also mental health as well. What we can say without any doubt about the value of nature to human beings is that the weight of evidence is strongly in favour of it being beneficial to the health of children and adults, and indeed of people of all ages.
Never in human history have we spent so little time in physical contact with animals and plants. Scientific evidence shows that we miss nature. Patients with a natural view from their room recover faster and require fewer painkillers than those that look out over a city. Prisoners with cell windows with views of nature have lower stress symptoms and fewer illnesses. University students with natural views score better on tests. Workers who see trees and flowers are less stressed and report fewer illnesses. And that's just a view of nature. If you actually go into it, the results are amazing. Being among plants produces lower concentrations of stress hormones, lower blood pressure, and boosts the immune system. People who meet in nature build a sense of community, and their prejudices about race and economic or educational status are reduced. Time in green settings reduces children's ADHD symptoms. The more nature we get during childhood, the more we want as adults. And the less we get, the less we want. Time spent outdoors gives us a sense of oneness with nature and with the universe, and being in nature can lead to transcendental experiences. Wow. I believe in the science, but science doesn't make you change your behavior. I believe that fatty foods are bad for you, but I still eat crisps. I've managed to get a meeting with Chris Rose in Norfolk. He's a seasoned environmental campaigner. In the 90s, he was a boss at Greenpeace and helped make them much more mainstream and popular. His book, How to Win Campaigns, is a Bible for how you win hearts and minds. Maybe he can help me engage people with my product.
See, what tends to happen, I find, is that people use outdoors as a synonym for being in contact with nature, whereas actually it isn't necessarily. If you're going around a nature reserve, the parents get their kids to go with them and they're bored until they get to the shop and can buy a plastic rubber made in China and buy some sweets and go home, then they've been all the way through it, but they've got zero engagement with it. Mentally, they've still got the ceiling over their head. Because just taking somebody outside doesn't mean that you open their minds, their eyes, or their hearts in a different way. So you've got the grass like this, that's called quaking grass. So if you hold the top of it, it wobbles. That's wild thyme if you rub that between your fingers and smell it. So like in Shakespeare, it says, I know a bank where wild thyme grows. That's a round-leaved plantain. This is a milkwort, this little purple thing. And there are dozens and dozens of species in here, all living right next to each other. So if you look at one plant, you can see it's touching lots of other plants that are all different. So it's like a tapestry where everything is all mixed up with everything else, but on a very fine-grained scale.
For kids, though, if you were attracting them out here with some sort of treasure hunt,
yep,
you wouldn't want them sort of interfering with the stuff, would you?
Well, it's pretty bulletproof, is it? Trampling-wise, yeah. The idea that the problem is people disturbing things is not really true. People not understanding it's here, not being able to recognise it, and therefore not being able to actively care about it and say we should have more of it, is more of a problem. If people don't understand something, they can't care for it. If they can't identify it, they don't know if it's going to go or if it's gone. So it's absolutely vital, I think. Whether or not children understand or engage with nature really determines what the next generation is going to do about a lot of the big problems that face our environment, our planet, but also what sort of quality of life the next generation has.
Unless children really notice the nature around them, they're never going to care about it. But that's what the Wild Time app's for. I'm never going to get children off screens, so let's use the screens to encourage children outside.
It's ready, it's here. You choose how long you've got to spend outdoors, between 10 minutes all the way up, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, all the way up to half a day. And then you hit the button and it gives you ideas of things to do. So owl vision, leaf rubbing, snail races, nature treasure trail, snail farm. It's just loads of amazing ideas. Can I show you what I'm going to ask you to do? It's called blindfold tour. So what you do in this game is you go in pairs, you go somewhere wild, and you take it in turns to be blindfolded. The person who can see leads the blindfolded one. The blindfolded friend has to, by using just touch, listen, and smell, they have to figure out where they are and what's around them.
Wait, turn, come backwards.
Come on, Jack. In front of you, there's a tree. Now feel it. Can you feel it?
Yeah.
I was a bit worried about the blindfold game, but they really want to play it, so that's amazing. I'm quite excited about that. I think they like the kind of adventure challenge idea of it.
Touch it! Yeah! Find a good slope covered in soft grass. Get rolling. How many different ways can you roll down the hill? Go crazy, organize rolling races.
In September, hedgerows are full of yummy berries. Head out and see if you can find some. Oh, look at this one. Hey, look, there's a red one here. See? Only eat the black ones, but they're sweet and nice, trust me. It tastes sour.
Trees make the best climbing frames. If you know how to pick the right one, it could be dangerous, but it depends on what tree you're climbing.
Because if you're trying a low one, this is not really a problem, but it might be old. It might be weak. Look. Find some pears! Everybody, out of the whole thing, what do you like about it? And what do you give it out of 10?
100 out of 100. Because I like to climb high on trees.
It makes you like more enthusiastic about nature.
It lets you to go outside and do lots of things. Down here.
Oh, that's amazing. One of the outdoor ad companies, they've just given us hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of advertising for free. 7 massive screens in stations, 50 screens in shopping malls, and some billboards. I hope it's a good poster. I feel like it's a good poster. I mean, you look twice, don't you? You'd be like, why is that girl licking a frog? What's that an advert for? It's an advert for nature. Weird. Oh, we've got a jingle. The jingle's come in.
Project Wild Thing. Project Wild Thing. Project Wild Thing. Let the kids go wild!
Good.
So the posters are to draw attention to the subject and get parents and children to think more about going outside. The Wild Time app is going live, so no children will be able to say they don't know what to do in the outdoors. I've worked with a doctor and a designer to make an information card for new parents, encouraging them to take their babies outside. I've got a website with a manifesto and a suggestion forum. And I'm asking people to pledge to match their screen time with nature time.
Day 1 of the Project Wild Thing campaign, and I declare this campaign officially open.
I'm on my way to launch Project Wild Thing at a festival. I know I'm preaching to the converted, but I really need to kick the campaign off with a bang. And if I can't persuade this bunch of hippies to sign a worthy pledge to take their children outside, then I'm screwed. I've got myself a spot on the main stage. I've never played a festival before, and I'm a little bit nervous.
My name's David Bond. I'm here to launch Project Wild Thing to get British kids outside into nature. They're becoming couch potatoes, and I need to do something about this. Shambhala, you know the secret. You will spend as much time outdoors as you do staring at screens. Shambhala, I salute you. You are the trailblazers. You are, and you are. Oh, f***.
We have a gentleman here called David who's going to talk to you very quickly about a new project that's been launched here today. You should listen to what the man has to say.
Hello, Shambhala. My name's David Bond, and I'm here today to launch a campaign called Project Wild Thing. Okay, so it's a project to try to get kids out and into nature. Look around you. The kids are having an amazing time. And the reason they're loving it here is because they're outdoors, they're in the open air, they're in the mud, they're in the sun, and they're happy. So I salute you for leading the way in getting kids outdoors and making them happy. But you've got to help me. Come on, projectwildthing.com. Thank you very much, Shambhala. Thank you, thank you.
I can't believe I just did that. Oh my. Come on. Already got 21 pledges. It's happening. It's very cool. Okay. I've got all the papers. Let's see what we've got. So we wrote to the Telegraph, burglary, drowning children, nothing. It was like an air crash, say rescuers as 16 whales die. What kind of air crash would that have been? The Sun, come on, The Sun. Bishop of Peckham sold children, killer dad, Pole dance girl, Harry snogged me in drunken fumble. Filmmaker David Bond was shocked to discover that the average British 8-year-old spends 4 hours a day glued to the screen. Small wonder that obesity is an epidemic and the England football team flops whenever it gets within sight of a final. I didn't say that. I mean, I'm not blaming English football defeats on... Although maybe he's right. Our billboards have gone up today. Our billboards are going to be in stations. Over here is the hospital. Here is an elephant representing our campaign that we're running in hospitals. Here's a mum giving birth. Then the giraffe can represent like our outdoor billboard campaign. The lion cub can represent our shopping mall campaign. So yeah, we've also got the Wild Time app. We can see how many people are going onto the app. So floating above everything is the internet. So online I've got to find like Twitter partners. So maybe NetMums and MumsNet. So we've got newspapers, we've got the internet, we've got poster campaigns in shopping malls, we've got posters in train stations, we've got our out and about intervention in maternity hospitals. Everything's just sort of happening. I think the only thing I can really do now is get out there and meet people and wear out some shoe leather.
Okay.
Hey madam, it's a campaign to try and get kids to go outdoors more. Children to go out to nature. Project Wild Things. The competition is hot around here. Pretty much everywhere is advertising something that relates to screens, except me. This is our campaign here, called Project Wild Things. What a nightmare. She's got a phobia of frogs. That's like a whole section of the audience that I hadn't thought about alienating. A campaign called Project Wild Things, to try and get kids to go outdoors more into nature.
I'm at Bedford Maternity Hospital to launch the Out and About packs.
It's a talk that we give to a mother before they leave the hospital, and it's got loads of information that they'll need for when they go home.
Do you think that we could put our Out and About pack in the discharge pack?
Yeah, we can certainly do a trial and see how well it goes.
Check it out! Get into nature. That is brilliant. It's quite exciting seeing Ivy this big. It looks great. Everyone I stop is really into the campaign and really engages with it immediately. But the problem is, it's just like one of me and not many leaflets. And we've got the billboards up, the pledges are growing as a result of that. Really need to think of some ways of reaching out further. This is my first attempt at Speaker's Corner. My immediate competitors are from the Socialist Party, a man wearing a unicorn hat. They've all got big crowds. The great tragedy in the UK is that we have some of the least happy kids in the developed world. Play freely. Go outside into the green space. I don't blame the parents. I'm a parent, and I let my children watch TV.
Capitalism? You should be doing something about capitalism, not taking kids out for a frolic in the countryside.
Going outside is one of the great anti-capitalist manoeuvres you can do. Thank you very much. We've just had our 1,000th pledge about 2 minutes ago. And the pledges are really taking off now. It's amazing. I'm in Covent Garden and I've come to meet a magician called Nick Stein. And he's going to try and steal someone's iPhone. We're trying to get somebody to react violently and strongly in order to use it as a viral film for the campaign.
Got a brand new app for the iPhone. What kind of phone do you have?
I have an iPhone.
iPhone, which one? Can I have a look? What serial number have you got? No, it's completely free. So the idea of the app gets you more in tune with nature. So the idea is to... But it's okay, don't worry about it. I mean, the idea is simply just to... Do you have insurance?
No.
You don't?
Why did you do that?
Well, you spend a bit more time outside now, won't you?
My secret campaign weapon has arrived. It's the hottest day of the year, and I'm driving to Deptford to promote nature dressed as a squirrel.
Can I give you one of my leaflets? It says it all on the back. Thank you.
Whoa! There need to be more facilities for the children. Instead of making more facilities, they're taking them all away. So this is a good thing.
Sign our pledge.
Definitely.
What's your name? What's your name? Candy! Are you from Sky? We're running a campaign to try and get kids to watch less telly. You like make the telly and we're trying to stop them watching it. Thanks, mate. Give me a hug.
ProjectWildThing.com. Campaign to try and get kids outdoors into nature.
Stop buying iPads. Take your children outdoors. You've bought enough iPads now. That's enough iPads.
That's the Apple Store.
Nature is the ultimate playground for children. Take your children outdoors. Let them frolic free like spring lambs. Please can you sign our pledge at ProjectWildThing.com. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you.
So it's been going well, but I think I'm going to have to employ some guerrilla tactics.
We've designed a Project Wild Thing no ball. So we're worried that children are being scared off by signs that say things like no ball games. So we reckon if they've got a no ball, then they can play no ball games.
The phone has not stopped ringing since the launch. The NHS is testing the Out and About pack in hospitals across the country. I've had nationwide press coverage and reached over 1 million people with the message, and thousands of them have signed up to be part of the campaign. The National Trust and loads of other concerned organisations are hosting a massive conference all about getting children back into nature. And they want me to give a speech.
My name's David Bond, and I used to be wild. Now I am not so wild, and my children are not so wild either. That's how I got this crazy new job. I know some of you might be thinking that is a stupid job to take on, but who else is doing it? Well, perhaps you guys in this room think that you're doing it. But if you are, I think you need to go home and have a good look in the mirror because it's not good news. Your sales figures are down. If you are the marketing directors of nature, you're in big, big trouble. Competitors are eating your breakfast, and it's your market they've invaded, and they're running off with your customers. A truly nationwide campaign to raise awareness around this issue could get more kids outside, so long as we all stick together and we all accept our roles as marketing directors of nature. Let's all come together and let's flog nature. Thank you very much.
Do you have the budget to be able to compete with the global players, the people who will be on the hoarding next year? Because you're up against money beyond our comprehension.
This is where the poster's up. Oh no, it's down. They've taken it down. What is it now?
We really had to beg to get this billboard for the short time that we had it. And the idea that you could keep doing that in order to maintain the pressure in the way that these big brands do, it's just impossible. I mean, Volkswagen, they've been advertising on big billboards for 50, 60 years. I know that because I'm Mad Men. To be successful, you have to just go on and 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 on about your brand. It's like Chinese water torture. It's just drip, 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 drip. That's why we love VW. Because they torture us like the Chinese.
I don't mean the Chinese do the water torture thing.
But if I did have a massive budget, where would that get us? Nature posters everywhere? Every other ad on TV for the outdoors? Queues outside woods instead of Apple stores?
Nature is an infinitely complex assemblage of stuff. Species, habitats, environments, opportunities, weather, climate, geology. I mean, it's all there. It's far easier for someone who's selling a burger to come up with a logo because it's just a burger. But you're offering something that's far more valuable, but I think far more difficult to sell.
You're not buying nature, you're not trying to have it and to hold it and possess it. You can't package nature up and you can't control it. And the whole point of a brand is that a brand is exactly the same every time it's delivered. The commercial world has to be predictable. You can't do that with nature. That's why it's so wonderful.
Chill out. I think you're projecting things onto the kids that aren't there.
What?
You know,
what, like
I
what?
think
What am I
you
projecting
do-
onto them that's not there?
That there's some huge crisis.
There isn't
That
yet.
they don't go outside.
They don't
that
go
they're
outside.
Freaks who spend all their time in front of the telly or
They're not
computers.
freaks. That's the frightening thing. All children are like that.
Now I'm marketing director for nature. Now I've got to work 24/7. And I'm going to be really stressed and I'm going to be like, right, the whole modern world is shit. And it's not. It's just not. We're lucky. You know, we're lucky. And let's hope that it stays like that.
Children in a lot of indigenous cultures are overwhelmingly happier than typical children in industrialised economies. But what is it about childhood in different cultures that gives them a different experience of well-being? In European cultures for hundreds of years, there has been this deep idea that the will of the child must be overridden. And in a lot of indigenous cultures, although I'm not saying that they are all using the same philosophy exactly, but there is one great commonality, which is that the will of the child must never be overridden. A system where children are learning self-control, self-regulation, autonomy, independence. And part of that is very much to do with wildness. The two words will and wild are etymologically connected. If a child is always, or children are always being told by somebody else what they can and can't do, what you're teaching a child is that they can't depend on their own judgment, they can't practice their own opinion, they can't take the initiative about looking and seeing for themselves whether, you know, something is too unsafe to try or, you know, fun enough to take the risk. What it creates is a generation which is being brought up to be obedient to somebody else, like a populace which is malleable and controllable and will do whatever it's told. That, politically, is very frightening.
I worried that future generations would stare obediently at screens. But it's happening already. We think we've outgrown nature. But playing God doesn't make us happy. It just fuels our competitive urges. I've ignored Ivy and Albie to look at my phone. Now they want a phone, so they can look down and stare, just like me. What am I doing? I'm obsessed with marketing nature. I've turned away while my children grow up. I need to change, or I'll miss what really matters.
Your boots and putting them on.
Albert, come back.
But
where's my laptop?
It's in the trees. It's coming. When I was a child, running in the night, afraid of what I might be, hiding in the dark, hiding in the street, and the world was full of enemy. The hounds of love are haunting. I've always been the coward. Don't know what's good for me. Oh, here I go. It's coming for me through the trees. Oh, help me, someone, help me, please. You take my shoes off and throw them in the lake, and I'll be 2 steps on the water. You let me take him in my hands. His little heart, it beats so fast, and I'm ashamed of running away. But nothing real, I just can't deal with this. I'm still afraid to be there. On your arms of love, feel your arms surround.